Hi, I'm Aubrey Basla, and today I'm interviewing Kristen Cooney, a Berman student worker for about a year. Hey, Kristen, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Kristen Cooney. My majors are environmental studies and fine arts, and I also have a minor in museum studies.
What attracted you to work at the Berman?
I just thought it was a really unique opportunity for students to work at an art museum. Since I am a fine arts major and a museum studies minor, that's kind of the perfect little combination of those things. It's kind of the applied version of the classes that I'm taking right now, so I get a really full experience with the whole thing.
Do you have a favorite piece of art or anything in the collection that you've been drawn to?
Last year I got to live on Main Street. Thankfully the outdoor sculpture garden is also partly on Main Street. So
Yeah.
I think some of the pieces on Main Street I have a good personal connection with because I got to see them pretty much every day.
Do you have a fun fact about yourself?
I am, again, an environmental studies major, and part of the reason I am one is for all those interesting nature things I do in my free time. I've recently been really interested in entomology and specifically moths, so I've been constructing this trap. Well, trap sounds sort of like a bad word, but just to catch and release different species from my yard and things like that. I also have poison dart frogs as pets, which is kind of a unique,
really?
Yeah, kind of a unique pet to have.
Very much so.
Their names are Sam and Paco. That's the dart frogs. They're also not poisonous in captivity, so that's everyone's next question is, oh my gosh, they're poison dart frogs, haven't they hurt you or something? And it's like, no, they're actually not poisonous, so.
They're just chill, they're just roommates.
They're just
They're
hanging
cool.
out.
Congratulations on having your work featured in the annual student exhibition and for winning the Richard Goldberg Award for sensitive interpretation of an artistic vision, and congrats on having your work selected as a part of the Mirren Library Student Art Collection. Could you tell us a little bit about your process and your pieces and how they came to be?
When quarantine started, I began pressing flowers because around the same time quarantine started, it was spring starting, so I thought it was really interesting being stuck indoors and kind of stagnant, but then all of nature and the rest of the outside world was, coming back in motion, coming back to life. So of course that meant our garden was coming back. I had all these beautiful flowers and I was like, I really want to preserve some of them. I've probably got thousands at this point now because I've been doing it ever since pretty consistently. The blossom mandala was me taking some of those flowers and I put them on the windows of my bedroom because I look out my bedroom window pretty much every day. Having had been inside for 2 or 3 months straight almost, there was just sort of this interesting relationship of humans now have to be still and we're facing this pandemic, which is this big strange reminder of our mortality, but the rest of nature is coming back to life. So I just thought it was a really odd juxtaposition that no one really expected to experience.
Yeah. That's absolutely true.
It was really a series of digital photographs that I had, that piece with different atmospheric backgrounds. So like when it would rain, I would take different pictures of each little panel that I had. And during the sunset, I have the picture of the full mandala. The project itself is sort of different stages in constructing the mandala. A big thing that I've started picking up from my environmental studies major is we're taught things are interdisciplinary, and at least environmental issues have a lot more factors that aren't just strictly environmental, like tied into them, that you have to consider. And I think that's part of the reason I've been able to sort of tie everything together the way that I have. At the time, most of my art supplies were stuck in my studio. I guess part of this project was a happy accident because I had to compromise and use things that I wasn't as familiar with or didn't think could be, a project worthy of the ASE, worthy to be in an art museum. It's been really interesting to see that the pandemic's really affected my work and is really the only reason I made that project and that it came to be. And
that's so interesting to hear all that backstory about it. Thank you so much for talking to me, Kristen. I really appreciate this, and it's great to get to know you better and your artwork.
Yeah, thank you so much for the interview.
Of course.